Hey everyone, welcome back to All in the Name of Growth. I'm really excited to be able to be here today with Linda Bjork. I am excited for her to be on our podcast and to be able to share her wisdom with us. Linda is a huge advocate for personal development, so that's why we jive, because so am I. And she's also a huge advocate for how to overcome limitations in your life, and she's a best-selling author. So she's got lots of wisdom to share with us today. So Linda, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm delighted to be here.
Good, good. Okay, so as an icebreaker, just to kind of get to know you a little bit more, I like to ask some random questions. So what book are you currently reading, or is like your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book. Let's see. My currently reading. I just set one down and I started a new one today. I was just reading a book, but it's not my favorite. It was about overcoming childhood emotional neglect. So I can't say it was my favorite, but it was educational and helpful. So I guess that was a last book that I was reading. And I've read The Body Keeps the Score by Dr.
Ooh,
Bessel, and lots and lots of books. I'm usually reading lots of these kinds of books to help me be able to improve my knowledge and my skills so that I can help other people be able to improve themselves and to be happy.
yes, yes. I'm a huge advocate for reading personal development books and trying to borrow other people's brains to better ourselves. So, okay, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate, definitely.
All right. What's your favorite destination?
Ooh, I would say home. I love home. I love to go places and I love to come back.
Yeah, home is a good one. That's fun. I haven't had anybody give me that answer yet, but I totally see that. Yes, because I love going places and I love being at home too. So, last one. What is your favorite thing that you do to relax?
I love to ride my bike. I have a recumbent bicycle and I have a 10-mile bike route. And to me, a good day is a day where the weather is cooperating and I can go for a ride
Yes. Oh, I like that. I like being out in nature too, just getting outside, getting out of the house.
out of the house. And we do travel a lot. I have been many places around the world. I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to Samoa. I've been to Europe. I've been to lots of places, but I love to go and then I love to come back.
Yes, yes. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into the meat of why we're here and what we're talking about today, because I think that a lot of what you have to share is going to be valuable for my listeners. So the reason why I wanted to have Linda on this episode is because I wanted her to be able to talk about overcoming self-doubt, which is something that many women face in their lives, whether it's just within themselves in their relationships, or if they're in a professional world, whether it's just as an employee or in their own business. It is a huge thing that I think that women really battle with, is having that self-doubt and finding their own worth within themselves rather than outside of themselves. So let's start off, Linda, by just kind of having you share your story and kind of what brought you like to this place.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I was wondering if I would have a chance to do that, if we were going to jump right into
Yep.
our self-doubt thing, because there's a reason why I talk about self-doubt, and it's because I have been loaded with the stuff. So my story, I like to separate into kind of two categories, and it is called broken and crushed. So for me, I grew up with a wonderful family, but when I was 6 years old, my mother experienced a trauma, and it doesn't actually matter what it was, because what it meant to her was failure, rejection, abandonment. And
Mm,
because she was dealing with these issues, she became just blocked off, completely blocked off to me. And I was, in particular, kind of a trigger, and she wanted to make sure to avoid me. And so I went from being someone who felt loved to someone who felt completely and totally invisible. And kind of like I was a disease. She didn't want me around. And it really affected me and who I thought that I was. And as a child, and I've learned since that this is so normal when any child experiences any kind of traumatic event, is they blame themselves. And the only explanation that my little 6-year-old mind could come up with is, there's something wrong with me.
yeah.
Either I did something bad or I am inherently flawed, but I am unlovable. I am worthless. I am invisible. And so that was the story that I created and cemented and, ziplocked into place and carried through for the rest of my life. And I felt I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me, obviously, because I'm not likable. I'm not lovable. But I could still function. And you know what? I could mask that, and I could mask it really well. And I could hide that the true me was absolutely worthless and unlovable. And I could pretend to be someone who was likable. And I could serve and I could do all these wonderful things. But inside, secretly, I felt not good enough. But later on, I had my own opportunity of having events in my life that just absolutely steamrolled me. And I ended up slipping into depression.
Mm.
And it was like I had fallen into a deep, dark pit. And from this place, it was so deep that sunlight and hope and happiness could not reach me. And in this dark place, there are no doors, there are no windows, and there is no way out. And I thought, well, I guess this is my new reality. From here on out, this is as good as it gets. And I just have to deal with it. And I struggled with social anxiety. My comfort zone absolutely collapsed, and I did not feel safe, not anywhere and not with anyone. And I thought, I don't know what to do. And I was so miserable. It was not only emptiness, it was not only darkness, but what was in there was misery. And I had times where I was just curled up on my couch, just sobbing with, just please let me stop existing so
Yeah.
that this pain and this misery can stop. Well, I was in this place for about 5 years, and it wasn't always consistent. It was kind of ebbed and flowed, but almost no one knew. Because remember, I have a lifetime of practice of masking, and I did my very best to hide this one as well. And then out of the blue, my sister, who knew absolutely nothing of what was going on in my life, she was training to become a life coach. And she had planned this women's retreat. She said, hey, I rented this condo in the mountains, and I'm going to invite this group of women to come and learn how to be happy and how to be fulfilled. And do you want to come? And I thought, heck no. No, absolutely not. Because first of all, I could not handle being around other people day and night. I needed a way to be able to escape. I could handle, a good 30-second conversation. How are you? Fine, great. And go on my way, but not to be around and not be able to run away. And there was no point because I was totally and completely hopeless. I was stuck in a dark hole with no doors and no windows. So obviously there was nothing she could teach me that would help. But even though I did not want to go, the idea would not leave my head. And I thought, I got to go. I got to do this. And so I gathered my courage together and I went. And I'm so grateful that I did, because that decision changed my life. It is as if my sister lowered a ladder down into my deep, dark hole, and she showed me a way to climb out. And it is very much a ladder. It is not an elevator. It is not with the press of a button and all of a sudden, woohoo, I feel great. It took time. It took effort, and it was really hard. And I've learned that healing is not like flipping on a light switch where instantly everything is all better. It is more like a sunrise where the changes from moment to moment might be gradual, even imperceptible, but they do come, and the change is beautiful and glorious. And because I have been in this situation of being miserable and being able to go through the process of becoming myself again. In fact, I'm better than I was before, because something that's ironic about going through this horrible situation of being crushed is that it also made me address the issues of being broken. And
Mm.
so I was able to heal from those as well. And so in the long run, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. But I have to say, I did not enjoy it at the time.
Sure. No, I don't think anybody would, but I am grateful that you're willing to share your story with other people, because I think that, and this is something that I think I realized at a kind of a young age in my teens. I don't know, there was like this moment in time where I realized that the things that I was experiencing and going through was only going to help me be able to help other people go through similar situations in their own lives. And I think that a lot of people get caught up in this idea that their brokenness is meant to be hid or to be masked and not to be shared with the world. And that in doing that, that provides them safety, and then nobody else knows that they're broken. But the sad thing about that is that a lot of the people that are around us are also feeling broken, and then there's no conversation about it, and so they stay bottled up, and you stay bottled up, and everybody's bottled up, and nobody is talking about it and able to figure out where's the ladder, right? You talk about there's no windows and there's no doors, but there was a ladder.
It was.
And while it was a hard journey out, it was so important for you to come out. And I love and respect so much that you got to a point that you were like, okay, that was miserable and I hated that. And now I'm going to show other people where the ladder is, because so many people don't. they just keep it bottled up and they're like, okay, well, I'm better, but I'm still not talking about it to anybody else, right? They go on their like merry way. So yeah, what you said about broken can be masked is very, very true. Are there other reasons aside from kind of what we've just talked about that you feel like people should stop masking broken?
Ooh, excellent question. And I think that one of the best reasons to stop masking broken is so that we can heal, because healing cannot take place when we are closed tight, tight, tight. In fact, one of the things that I like to teach is that every journey to healing begins with hope. And hope is this acrostic where H stands for having a hunger. You got to want it. It starts with a desire. Nobody can heal without their consent. And it has to reach a point. Like a lot of people think, well, yeah, obviously I want to heal. Duh, who doesn't want to heal? But it has to reach a tipping point. And the tipping point is when you want to change more than you want to stay the same,
Mhm.
because it's so much easier to stay the same. The O stands for openness. And that's where the masking comes into place. When I was struggling with depression and anxiety and those feelings of being so worthless and invisible and unnecessary, I was so tight, 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 like a little armadillo in its shell. And the reason that they do that is to protect themselves. And that is exactly what I was doing. But I have learned that we cannot heal when we are closed tight, tight, tight. It requires being able to open up. And for me, the very first step was when I talked to my sister when I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go or not. And I just said, I kind of want to go, but I'm scared because I'm not in a good place. And to me, even though that sounds like such a simple sentence, it was huge because I'd never told anybody that before. And her response was, really? I had no idea.
Mhm.
You always seem so put together. But, I understand, because
Mhm.
I thought I was all put together when I was a mess inside. And now I'm really happy. And I thought, oh my gosh. So this simple conversation of me being brave enough to open up that tiny little bit gave me some information. One, that I was not alone. And two, I thought, oh my gosh, she was miserable and now she's happy. Does that mean that maybe she has something that could help me too? That was
Mhm.
huge. And that was from opening just that little bit. The P stands for positive expectancy. And positive expectancy means we are expecting a positive outcome. And when I was stuck in this dark, dark place and felt zero hope, there is nothing that can help me. You cannot put in the effort to make a change when you don't think it's going to make any difference. We have to have a positive expectancy, open ourselves up to that possibility. And that's why I'm talking to you today. And that's why we're having these conversations, so that people can hear other people's stories and say, they were there and now they're better. Maybe there's a positive outcome for me
Yeah.
too. So, and then the E stands for empowerment. We have to get our power back. And empowerment is all about, when you're stuck in a victim mentality, when you're stuck in any of these kinds of things, we have to be able to get our power back so that we cannot stay stuck in a victim role, so that we can move forward, so we can feel comfortable in our own skins and have that confidence to be able to, really become our best selves. And
Mhm.
that comes from a combination of learning and doing. And
Yeah.
that's the secret. And it's small, it's simple, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like what you talked about, how you can't fix basically what you don't acknowledge. And that is the first step of self-awareness, is really understanding the broken parts of you and a lot how they came about. I love oh, now my brain just stopped working. There's an author that just wrote a book called The Power of You, and it's about Enneagram stuff, but it's really, really powerful in being able to kind of get into your backstory of how you kind of came to be the way that you are and how to kind of overcome that. So I'm just going to recap the things that you just said. For hope, I love that you have that. So healing, openness, positive expectancy, and empowerment. And those are all really, really valuable. And I love that you kind of gave, a deep dive into each one of them and what that really means for people in their lives and how it's going to help them be able to transform themselves. Because that it's one thing to be like, okay, I recognize I'm broken and here's maybe even how I got there. And it's another thing to be able to find that hope moving forward, that it can be different. Like you said, that's a huge
Oh,
part.
glad you brought that up, because part of the healing process is exactly what you said. We have to become aware. And sometimes when we become aware, and a lot of things are because of events in our childhood, things that happen to us, there is a natural tendency to go from there to blame and
Mm,
say, oh, well, it's all your fault because my parents did this and they did that and this happened to me. And it's like, so that's why I am what I am, and game over. And it's so sad because they have taken a step toward what could be a lifetime of happiness and healing. But instead, they choose to just wander around in the mud and get stuck in these feelings of self-justification and anger. And I've even seen groups where it's like therapy, like group therapy, where you get together and you get to talk and explain and share your stories. And by the time you're done, it's like, yeah, you're justified and you dealt with hard things.
Mm.
And then it's like, yeah, I am justified. And that's all they get out of
But
it.
now what?
Yeah, it's like, I am more mad than I was before. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's your goal. You win, but I want something better.
But are you actually winning? Which,
Well, we have lots of wins and some of our prizes stink.
yeah, that's true. That is true. That's funny. I've never heard it put that way, but you're right. Um, okay, so what are some, I really like to be able to give listeners and like tools or mindset shifts or things that they can actually implement into their lives right now that will help them to be able to kind of move in the right direction. So when we're talking about self-doubt, and we're talking about what that looks like for people, and we've talked about, how people can just mask their brokenness, or they can kind of turn away from that and act like everything is okay, which I think is a huge part that creates self-doubt. That when you don't acknowledge your brokenness, then you're obviously also not going to acknowledge your worthiness. And it will create a spiral, like you say, walking around in the mud of that self-doubt in feeling like you're not able to actually accomplish the things that you want in life, to be able to get to that next point. And obviously you were able to do that. You were able to come out of a place of darkness and into a place of now empowering other people. So what really was like that moment, or that catalyst, or maybe a few catalysts that helped you overcome your own self-doubt and put yourself in a place of empowerment, and to see your own value, your own self-worth, that would help other people be able to kind of replicate that for themselves?
Oh, excellent question. And you've covered so many different things. So see if I can get some basic things put together. So when we're talking about self-doubt, there is, I looked up a definition of self-doubt, and it is having a lack of confidence in ourselves and in our abilities. And to me,
Yeah.
those are two very separate things, because if I only have a doubt in my abilities, then I think, I guess I need to build some skills there. I can take a class, I can get some practice, and then I'm good to go. But where it really comes in is when we have that self-doubt about ourselves.
Mhm.
And this is a feeling where it doesn't matter how hard I try. It doesn't matter how much I learn. It doesn't matter how much effort I put into it. I am never going to be enough. And when we're stuck in that feeling, then it is very, very hard to progress. And it is very hard to be able to move forward. And it creates a feeling very much of helplessness. And the self-doubt creates more self-doubt. And this is a place where I have lots of personal experience with this, and I understand. And what we need to do in order to come out of that is a combination, just like this is a two-part thing. The process of healing is also going to be multifaceted. And one is we have to increase our self-confidence, our self-esteem. But another is we have to increase our self-love. And I've heard it described this way. Self-esteem is knowing that I have talents and abilities. I have something of value to share, and that matters. But self-love means that I have value when I am doing nothing.
Yes.
And to be able to get into that place takes a real change. And it starts, I believe, with some self-compassion. I think we have to start somewhere. And self-compassion is a beautiful way to begin. Now, for me, one of my just things I was really, really good at was negative self-talk. I could beat myself up from the morning I woke up till the morning, moment I went to bed. And probably during my sleep, I was doing it too. Oh, I am not good enough. I am this, I am that, I am too this, I am not enough that. And so that was something that I really needed to work on. And it's hard because you cannot just say, well, just stop doing it, because that is actually not possible. We have to replace it.
That's it.
And I've had, some suggestions. Replace it with these wonderful positive affirmations. Say, I am lovable and I am great. And when I would say those things, it felt like I was the biggest
Right.
liar on this planet. And it was so hard to even say the words. And I certainly didn't mean them, but I did try. But I've since learned another method that I think is even better. And that is when those negative thoughts start, to stop and say, I am the kind of person who is kind to myself,
Mm,
because I know what kindness looks like. I know what that is. And I know how to be kind to other people. But I did not think that I needed to be kind to myself. I thought my cruel words didn't hurt anybody, but they did. They hurt me.
you-
And so each time, if a negative thought comes, I am the kind of person who is kind to myself.
yes.
What would a kind person do? A kind person would give someone the benefit of the doubt. A kind person would encourage and say, you know what, that didn't go the way you wanted, but you tried. You had some confidence, you had some courage, you did it. And these kinds of things. And if we can start with being kind, that can make all of the difference. Now, you asked for some specific tools, and I think specific tools make all the difference, because change comes from learning and doing. And if we don't do, we don't change. And if we don't know what to do, then we can't change. And that's what building this ladder and climbing is all about. So I'm just going to share a couple of tools that I used. One is when we're in this spot and we're trying to figure out who I am, which I think is pretty important. If I'm going to like myself, I mean who I am. And that is journaling, writing things down and figuring out the root of the situation. Why do I feel the way that I feel?
Mm,
And there's a process called root cause analysis, or the 7 whys, where you just keep asking why, and why to that, and why to this, until you can find it. And if you can find a situation like I was able to find with my story and say, okay, I found something here. I can see why. But now, if we just stop there, that's not healing. We have to look at it from a meta perspective, which is like from the outside, not like I'm reliving it as this poor little 6-year-old being
sure.
totally confused and unloved again. I don't need to do that.
Mhm.
But now I can look at it from the point of view of an adult watching from the outside. Okay, let's look at this story. Let's look at what happened. Did it mean what you thought it meant?
Mm,
And the answer is no. Actually, that had nothing to do with me whatsoever.
mhm,
So then, once our mind says, okay, all right, and then we can start to let things go
mhm.
and start to create a new story. And the things that happened, we can't change the past. It is what it is, but we can create a better future. So journaling is a super, super helpful tool. Now, another thing that we can do that also includes writing, and that is a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
Things down. Now, I'd done a gratitude journal before. I tried it and I failed. And I thought, that's nice for those happy little fluffy Pollyannas who like to do that kind of thing. But I was dealing with real issues, and I wanted real solutions. But the cool thing is that the research shows that this does make a huge difference. And they've done so many studies, and they've done fMRI scans and found that when we are in an attitude of gratitude, it helps to stimulate the prefrontal cortex area of the brain, which is where our decision making and our conscious thought takes place. And so it helps us to be able to make better decisions. It helps us to be better able to act rather than to react, which is amazing. They've also shown that it improves the neuroplasticity of the brain, which is so important for any kind of healing, and helps us be resilient and helps us be able to adapt to change. It also, they've done research on depression and the effects of gratitude. And one of my favorite research groups is they took a group of people who were struggling with severe depression, and they said, okay, the only change we want you to make is to write 3 things down every day that went well, 3 things that you are grateful for. And then in 15 days, they came back to see if it made any difference. And they found that 94% of participants had a noticeable improvement. They had gone from severely depressed to either moderately or mildly depressed. And it didn't solve all of their problems, but it put them in a place that they were better able to solve their own problems. And this was really only a little more than 2 weeks. So it's not you do it once and then all of a sudden, man, that was awesome. I feel fantastic. It's this little step by step. And as we continue, it changes everything. And where the focus goes, the energy flows. And when we start to focus on the positive things in our life, all of a sudden we start to notice more and more positive things. Whereas before, when we're focusing on the negative, that's all we see. And it's crazy because good and bad are happening all the time. So which one are we noticing? Which one are we pointing out? What direction are we facing? And that makes all the difference. And so I have created a 5-minute morning routine. It's available. There's a video and downloads and stuff on the Hope for Healing website to talk through a simple morning routine with it's 4 parts: WW, music, movement, words, and water, to help people be able to get that happiness and that positivity back into their lives. So that can I go through the M? So the first M is music. Music is a super, super powerful tool, the most effective tool in changing the way that we feel. If you're feeling like crud, a song can help change the way that you feel right away, which is magical. And so if you pick a song, something that you love, something that makes you want to sing, something that makes you want to dance along, these are the kinds of songs that we want to put into our lives. And if we have this song, and songs are about like 3-4 minutes long, that's your timer. And so during this song, you're going to move. You're going to move your body. You're either going to do some traditional exercises. You might be doing Tai Chi. You might be doing shadow boxing. You might just be dancing, which is actually my favorite. And then if you move your body, then the music is going to change the way that you feel. It's going to give you, and when you move, it's going to give you more energy. It's going to give you more ability to do things. Also, when we move, it helps to relax our muscle tension. It helps to reduce the levels of cortisol in our bodies, which is that stress hormone. It helps to increase the level of endorphins, which help make us feel better. And so we do this. So we're moving while we're listening to our music. When that's done, we're going to grab a notebook and a pen. We're going to write 5 things that we're grateful for. We already talked about all the amazing things that gratitude does. And then the last thing is to grab a bottle of water and drink it. Water is one of the most overlooked things that we can do to help improve our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Our brains are about 73% water. And research shows that if we're dehydrated as little as 1%, it starts to affect our mood and our brain functioning. And so if we can keep hydrated, we can move our bodies, we can put some positive music on, we can, think positively and start to put that gratitude. In 5 minutes, you get these incredible effects of all of these tools, which is so amazing. And then you can have a better day.
That is, you just like laid it out. Wow, that was amazing. I have so many notes that I've written down here. I love what you talked about. Journaling is a super effective way of being able to get out of your head and onto paper. I think that a lot of people make things way bigger than they actually are by leaving it in their head instead of talking about it, processing it, walking through it. And like you said, you don't need to relive it per se. You can come at it as a place of, I am now an adult. Now let's, with my adult wisdom and experiences, look at this situation as a 6-year-old. And how does that actually apply? How does that actually sit? Was it actually my fault? Could I have done anything to change it? And when you realize those things, it just sets you free. And it could be, as a 6-year-old, or it could be, a relationship you experienced as a teenager, or, something that happened in your first job, or like, it could be a lot of experiences that caused the story to be told in a certain way. But when we can actually sit with our adult mind and look at it and be like, okay, I think one of the things too, is that when we are children, we think that the adults in our lives have all of their stuff put together and that they know everything, and they are making decisions out of a place of wisdom and rightness. And becoming an adult, we recognize I don't have all my crap together all the time, and I don't always make the best decisions, and I don't always treat people in the right way. But for some reason, it's like people don't stop to take that knowledge and that recognition and say, okay, well, if that is true for me as an adult, that means that the adults in my life when I was a child also didn't have their crap put together, and they also didn't always make the best choices, and they didn't always treat me the way that they should have. And so how can I release those things and set me free as an adult to become a better, more productive human being and to release that emotion? But I love what you talked about in the gratitude journal specifically, because there, yes, like you said, there's uncountable studies that have proven that being in a place of gratitude only changes your outcome. Like it will radically do that. And I know that, like at first blush, it's like, oh, I don't have anything that I'm grateful for. I hate my life. I am miserable. But like, I'm grateful that I can breathe, that I woke up this morning, that I can use all of my, like you can start at the most basic things and then you can go backwards and what people were you grateful for in your life? What did they mean to you? Like there are easy ways that you can start finding the things that have touched you in your life in positive ways, which will only help you be able to see those things in your current circumstances as well and be able to create more of them moving forward. Because like you said, that where the focus goes, the energy flows. And that is a very true statement, that what you are focusing on is going to only be magnified. So if you're focused on misery, you're just going to get more of that. So gosh, all of it. I loved your 5-minute morning routine. Everything that you just shared was so great, and so many applicable things that people can do right now. You definitely got the assignment done on giving people tools that they can take into their lives and actually use. So I do want to recap what you had talked about really quick with the music and the move, the 5 things that you're grateful for, and drinking water. I think that those are all very simple things that we can do, and it only takes 5 minutes. So
that's magical.
Thank you, Linda.
Then I can fit it in, because a lot of times when we're feeling overwhelmed, hello, I am feeling overwhelmed. Don't give me more stuff to do. Don't tell me I got to do more stuff. But if it's doable, if it's easy, and if you hear it and think, oh, well, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's where we want to start.
Yeah.
Because the magic doesn't take place until we start.
And then it sets your intention for the whole day. It totally changes the way that it can come out. I love it. Linda, thank you so much for coming on and visiting with us today. Where can people, so aside from the Hope for Healing website, where can people find you online?
Okay, so I'm going to give the website for the Hope for Healing, because that's going to be
Perfect.
the best place. And it is hopeforhealingfoundation.org. And we have so many free resources. We have free audio courses. We have free ebooks. We have free downloads and videos, and just anything to be able to offer a ladder to anybody who feels stuck. I also, like yourself, run a podcast. Mine is called Linda's Corner, and you can find me at lindascornerpodcast.com. And of course, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple and Google and Spotify and Stitcher and all those kinds of places. And you can find me on social media at Linda's Corner Podcast.
Perfect. Thank you, Linda. We will definitely make sure that that's all in the show notes and the YouTube description as well. So thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom. Again, I really just think that it's amazing what you have chosen to do with your life, that you made that deliberate choice of, okay, I was there and I got the ladder, and now I'm out, and I'm going to provide that ladder for everybody else in abundance. I mean, I love all the things that you offer on your website that help people be able to try and get out of those situations themselves. So huge kudos to you for showing up in life for yourself and for others.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks for coming. We'll catch up with you later.